Welcome back to my channel. I'm Heather Corinne, and today we're going to be crocheting some adorable Christmas tree cakes. These are inspired by the Little Debbie Christmas tree cakes that are so challenging to find right now. This video tutorial is designed as a visual tool to go along with the written pattern, which can be found on my blog and in my Etsy shop. I'll link those down below, as well as a list of the materials and stitches we'll be using. So don't ask me what size crochet hook and what yarn I use, because all the details are going to be down below and in my blog post. Also, feel free to pause this video at any point, rewind, rewatch, just do what makes you comfortable and your level of crochet skills. I did want to quickly point out the sizing difference between using the same weight of yarn. These are both worsted weight yarns, but these are two different brands. So they're very similar in like the ounces per gram, but you can see one is slightly larger than the other. This is Red Heart Super Saver, and this is I Love This Yarn from Hobby Lobby.
So let's get started on these Christmas tree cakes. So we'll begin by creating a slip knot in either chocolate or vanilla colored yarn. And then we're just going to chain 2 chain stitches. So that's 1 and 2. For row 1, we're going to single crochet and chain 1. So that's 1 stitch for row 1, and then we're going to turn. For row 2, we're going to increase, so that's going to be 2 single crochet into the same stitch, which makes 2 stitches for row 2. Chain 1 and turn. Row 3, we're going to increase again. So that's increase in this first stitch, and then single crochet in the next stitch. That makes a total of 3 stitches for row 3. And we'll chain 1 and turn. Row 4, we're going to increase, and then single crochet in the next 2 stitches. 1, 2 will give us a total of 4 stitches for row 4. And at the end of every row, we're going to chain 1 and turn. For row 5, we're going to increase, and then single crochet in the next 3 stitches. Which gives us a total of 5 stitches for row 5. Row 6, we're going to increase, and then single crochet in the next 4 stitches, which gives us a total of 6 stitches for row 6. Row 7 is the last row in this first little portion. We're going to increase, single crochet in the next 5 stitches, which gives us a total of 7 stitches for row 7. At the end of row 7, we're going to chain 1 and turn. And this is our first little triangle at the top of our Christmas tree. So we're going to snip off the yarn with a long enough tail to weave that end in later. Next, we're going to place another slip knot on our hook so that we can join to our project and work on the second little triangle, if you will. So here's our slip knot on our hook, and we're going to count in and join to the second stitch from the previous row. So here's 1, 2. We're going to join into that second stitch, and then we're going to single crochet with that new working yarn. So here's single crochet, and then we're going to single crochet in the next 4 stitches as well. So that way we end up with 1 stitch open on either side for row 8. That's going to be a total of 5 stitches on this row. So we chained 1 and turned. Now for row 9, we're going to increase, single crochet in the next 3 stitches, and then increase again in that last stitch, so that'll be a total of 7 stitches for row 9. Row 10, we're going to increase, and then single crochet in the next 6 stitches. That's going to give us a total of 8 stitches for row 10. Row 11, we're going to increase, and then single crochet in the next 7 stitches, which will give us a total of 9 stitches for row 11. Row 12, we're going to increase, and then single crochet in the next 8 stitches, which will give us a total of 10 stitches for row 12. Row 13 is the last row in this little triangle. We're going to increase, and then single crochet in the next 9 stitches, which is going to give us a total of 11 stitches for row 13. At the end of row 13, we're going to chain 1 and turn the work around and snip off the yarn with a long enough tail to weave in that end later on. For the last little triangle portion of our front and back panel of the tree, we're going to place a slip knot on our hook again and join into the second stitch of that last row we just completed. So there's 1, 2, we're going to insert the hook into that second stitch, and then we're going to single crochet. We'll then continue to single crochet in the next 8 stitches so that there will be a total of 9 stitches for row 14, and there'll be 1 open stitch at the front and the back of this row. Row 15, we're going to increase in that first stitch. We'll single crochet in the next 7 stitches. And then we'll increase again in that last stitch, giving us a total of 11 stitches for row 15. Row 16, we're going to increase, and then single crochet in the next 10 stitches, giving us a total of 12 stitches for row 16. Row 17, we're going to increase and then single crochet in the next 11 stitches, giving us a total of 13 stitches for row 17. Row 18, we're going to increase and then single crochet in the next 12 stitches, which will give us a total of 14 stitches for row 18. Row 19 is our last row of the third little triangle. We're going to increase and then single crochet in the next 13 stitches. So that'll be a total of 15 stitches for row 19. Ignore that I just pulled a few stitches out and kept going. Nothing changed. I just, when you get like a little piece of your yarn and it starts to split, I always pull those stitches back out and just redo them so that it has a nice clean finish. So at the end of row 19, we're going to chain 1 and turn the work around and snip off that yarn with a long enough tail to weave that end in later. So here we are with the main base of our tree. All we have to do next is add the little trunk at the bottom. So once again, we'll create a slip knot for our hook. And this time we're going to count over 6 stitches on the last row we just completed. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and insert the hook into that 6th stitch. And we'll single crochet into this stitch and the next 4 stitches. So that's 5 stitches total along the bottom of this trunk. So we'll chain 1 and turn. In the last row, we're just going to single crochet in each stitch across the trunk. So that's a total of 5 stitches on row 21. We'll chain 1 and tie off with a long enough tail to weave in our ends. And that completes the main portion of the front and back panels. So next we're going to weave in all of these ends to clean it up. So we'll take our handy dandy tapestry needle and I'm going to show you an example of how I would weave in the ends. We want to weave in all of the ends with the structure of the tree shape in mind. We want the corners to look nice and clean but not pulled too tight. So we're going to thread this yarn needle. And since I'm pulling up from this bottom row, I'm going to insert the needle and pull it up towards the top. Then I'll bring it back down, which keeps our tree structure shape nice and clean. So my favorite way to weave in ends is to run the needle down through maybe 4 or 5 stitches in one direction. And then I'll turn and skip 1 stitch and go back the other direction through those exact same stitches. I have to turn this around because it's so hard to work with it right side up. Run it back through those exact same stitches and then snip off the excess yarn. Now we're not pulling too tight, just so that it blends in with the rest of the stitches. And that's how I weave in my ends. And so on the other edge of this corner of the tree, we're going to weave it in just the same with the structure of the tree shape in mind. So now I'm going to catch back up with you after I have weaved in the rest of all of these ends. Here we are with all of our ends weaved in, looking nice and clean on this panel. So a good time to pause and rewind and go back and make a second one of these panels so that we'll be ready to join them together. Welcome back. Here we are with both of our panels completed. So we will add the embellishments on the front. So we're going to have the frosting and the sprinkles on the front panel. So we're just going to take some red yarn to create the frosting. We're going to leave a medium-sized tail at the beginning, create a slip knot, and then we're going to chain 16 chain stitches. Then we'll snip the end off with another medium-sized tail. And this is going to be the first frosting band that goes across the bottom. So we're going to repeat this a few more times to make the other frosting bands, each row decreasing as it goes up. So for this next set of frosting, we're going to chain 12. The next one, we're going to chain 10. And the top one, we're going to chain 8. For the last one that goes across the trunk at the bottom, we're going to chain 6. And ta-da! We've got all of our frosting ready to attach to our tree. So I like to start with the largest portion of frosting first. So I'm going to put all the others aside and get our handy dandy tapestry needle and attach it to one of the sides. We want to keep in mind that the frosting needs to look realistic. And when I say realistic, the real version of these Little Debbie Christmas tree cakes, the frosting is all squiggly and swirly in all different directions. So instead of putting it straight across, we're going to kind of squiggle it a little. So once we have our placement, we're going to begin weaving up and down through the center of these chain stitches to secure the frosting in place. Once we get about halfway down the side of the frosting, I'm going to start working with the other tail on the other side. And we'll meet those tails in the middle so that we can tie them off on the back in a nice clean way. Once it's nice and secure, we'll flip it over and tie a simple double knot on the back and trim off any of that excess yarn. And this is how we'll make our frosting. So we're going to continue in the same method with the other corresponding frosting lines and just kind of keep the same idea of the squiggly swirlies in mind as we're attaching all of those. And I will catch you back after I have stitched down all of these little frosting bands. Here we are with our frosting attached. We're going to move on to creating the sprinkles. And as you can see, every cake is a little different as far as the direction of the frosting and the sprinkles. That's what makes them unique. So taking a large strand of bright green yarn, we're going to start stitching on some little sprinkles in all different random directions. So I'll meet you back after I've added all of these little sprinkles throughout all of the white portion of the front panel. Here we are with all of our cute little sprinkles finished. I'm just going to weave this green tail down through a few stitches and tie off and trim any of our excess yarn. Here's our completed front panel. We're ready to start assembling our Christmas tree cake. So we have our front and back panels ready to go. They're going to line up on top of each other, and we'll begin to create a border around the edges using our white. I recommend starting at the bottom right side of our tree. So we're going to place a slip knot on the hook. I want to leave a long enough tail at the beginning to weave in our end. And we're going to insert the hook through both panels, front and back, into this bottom right corner. We're going to single crochet, chain one, and single crochet into that same stitch again, and that keeps the corner structure. So now we're going to single crochet until we reach the next little corner or point of the tree. So here we go, single crocheting through both sides. And when we reach these little indents in the corner, we're going to slip stitch into those. And then the points, we're going to do the same thing we did at the first corner. We're going to single crochet, chain one, and then single crochet into that same exact stitch. We're going to continue to repeat this all the way up and around. So single crocheting in the flat parts, and the little indents we'll slip stitch, and then on the points we're going to single crochet, chain one, single crochet. And if this is a little confusing, you can see the diagrams that I have created on my blog post to help you know where to place which stitches. So here we are at another indent. We're going to slip stitch. And here we are at a corner. So we're going to single crochet, chain one, and single crochet in that same stitch. And continue on single crocheting. See how clean our edges look now that we've made our little indents and corners up the side of the tree. So at the point on the top, we're going to treat it just like a corner. It'll be a single crochet, chain one, single crochet, chain one, single crochet in the same stitch. And then we're going to repeat everything the exact same way down the other side, except that it'll be reversed. You'll hit the corner before you hit the little indent. We're going to pause at the bottom right after we finish that last corner. Excuse me, the bottom left. So that's the single crochet, chain one, single crochet in this corner. We're just going to pause here so that we can add our stuffing. We want to add just enough stuffing to give it some structure and texture without overstuffing to where you can see through the stitches. So play by ear, add as much stuffing as you like, and then we will pick back up at the bottom of this border. Picking up where we left off, we're going to put the hook back into our working yarn. We'll continue single crocheting across the flat part on the bottom. In these little indent, we're going to slip stitch, single crochet, and then in this corner, we're going to single crochet, chain one, single crochet in the same stitch. So here we go. Single crochet, chain one, single crochet. And we're going to repeat until the end. And when I say repeat until the end, we're going to single crochet on the flat parts and then treat the corners and the indents the same as we have been. At the end of our border, we're going to slip stitch into that first stitch of the border to kind of finish it off. That's our first stitch of the border. We're going to slip stitch and tie off with a long enough tail to weave in our ends. I'm going to weave these ends in the same exact manner that I weaved in all the other ends, just running it down through a few stitches and then back up the same stitches, only skipping one along the way, and then trimming off any of that excess yarn. And here is our completed little Christmas tree cake. I love how these turned out. They're absolutely adorable, and they're almost the same exact size as the normal Christmas tree cakes that you can eat. So these would be fun stocking stuffers. I think I'll probably end up giving them to my niece and nephew.
I hope you enjoyed crocheting these adorable Christmas trees with me today. Give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. Your support really helps me to continue to create these free tutorials for you, and I am so very grateful. I hope you and yours have the happiest of holidays, and I'll see you very soon.